Hello guys, welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. I'm in the garage, just sort of stripping some bits down off this car. It's got like a DVD player in the back and all sorts of wires running through into the boot for this Panasonic DVD player. So I'm just stripping that out. I am also starting to think about the engine errors we've got in here. We've got this filthy engine bay. I'm just trying to get my head around the best way to tackle all the problems I've got in this car. All of them. But I don't want to sort of think too much about it and just enjoy kind of repairing it. Just enjoy it, John. Just enjoy all this fucking work. What have I let myself in for? Now, the first problem that I talked about, guys, is the engine. All of these engine error codes that I've got kicking around, and I've gone and looked them all up. P0313 misfire detected with low fuel. P30300 random multiple cylinder misfire detected. So I'm misfiring on random cylinders rather than one like individual cylinder. Like if I was misfiring on cylinder 1, it's a 6-cylinder engine, obviously. I can say obviously, I don't know too much about this bloody engine. Been just trying to learn a little bit about it. But it's all of the cylinders randomly misfiring, which is an important thing, isn't it? When you're troubleshooting, fixing problems is lovely, especially with an engine. It's a lot of times it's about asking the question, where is the problem and where isn't the problem? And from that you can start to narrow down root cause a little bit. And the more you understand about the engine, the easier it becomes. And in fact, most of the mechanics that work on these engines have got so much experience. As soon as they see a symptom, they kind of know instinctively what it could be and zero into it straight away. And almost, you know, as soon as you tell them a symptom, they'll be like, I'll just try replacing that and that first, because it's a quicker win than trying to diagnose the bloody thing. However, I need to diagnose this. I can't be messing around just swapping bits out. So misfires is the main symptom. Some of these other errors that come up manufacturer control, like P1334 and 1342, I can't read them properly. That's why it's saying manufacturer control. But if I look online, they look like I think they're misfires on all of the cylinders as well. So I've got like loads of random misfires going on. And these two errors here, P071 and P074, system 2 lean, bank 1 and bank 2. So with that, bank 1 and bank 2 confused the shit out of me when I first saw it. But basically you have 6 cylinders. I think you've got 3 cylinders on one bank and 3 cylinders on the other bank. So a bank of, you'll probably have fuel, you know, a fuel system serving those 3, you know, and then a fuel rail serving the other 3, I assume. You know, I don't know. But you've got 2 banks of cylinders. Okay, so it's happening. It's running too lean on both banks, which is interesting. Which suggests, so you know, this is, I said earlier on, this is a running problem. So I don't know that much about engines, but I know you burn petrol and you need air, and you need the right balance of the 2 types of things. So when it says it's running too lean, maybe we haven't got enough petrol, or we've got too much air, or too much petrol and not enough air. My guess is you're not running too much petrol. You know, you're not going to be able to put more in than you should, but it could be less petrol than it should be, and that could be something like the petrol pump isn't working, and that would be a bit of a pain in the arse to sort out. It must be working. I don't think it's going to be the fuel pump. It could be the fuel filter is clogged, so the fuel isn't quite going into the it's not feeding through quite as efficiently as it should be. I think it's more likely to be air, guys. So we talked about this system here. We've got the air intake feeds here, nice and high, going through here, going through the air filter, going through the airflow meter, the MAF. And then at this point, it's going to start metering the airflow, okay, and then making calculations based on that metering. And then obviously the air is going to be going into the air intake system. There's some other gubbins around here I talked about before. There's all these bloody breather pipes coming off of it. So after this point we could have a split. It could well likely just be a split in the this intake elbow. They've got like flexible sections that are under pressure a little bit. So when something's under pressure to give you that give so you can fit them, that's more likely where the plastic's stretched and where it goes through heat cycles and cooling cycles. That's more likely where it's going to crack. So the simple thing to do would be to strip this out, strip all this out, check the math, make sure that's not all dirty. You could clean that, but if it looks okay, it's probably just best to leave these bloody things alone. They're temperamental on any car. The amount of problems I've had with maths, you know, I should call them duffs, because they are a pain in the arse. But I want to check these intake elbows, and if I get the light, just try to understand. There's more than one elbow there, isn't there? There's two elbows. There is two elbows. So the quickest thing I could do is check the intake elbow, and I know this thing is called a Deezer, which looks like it's providing. It's just, I don't quite understand what's going on with this engine, because this is going to go down to the throttle body, isn't it? So you're going to have the throttle body controlling the air going into the air intake. So what the fuck does this Deezer do? Because it looks to me like it's the same sort of thing. It looks to me like it's a similar sort of thing, like it's a valve that controls the air that's going into the intake. Am I being really thick here? I probably am. I don't understand this Deezer, whatever it is, but it looks like it's going to have a valve and it's going to be connected. Now, one other thing we haven't talked about is this whole engine, this top half of the engine, the air intake system, and the valves. You know, the what's this thing called? The crank. What the hell is this called? Well, this is the top half of the engine, isn't it? Where all the cams are. This is all pressured, so this has to be sealed. So I could also have a very simple leak somewhere in the air intake, or this top part of the engine. So I noticed, I'm going through the paperwork, but I noticed that the gasket was changed at some point. So maybe that was done to try and diagnose this, or maybe that was done and it hasn't been done properly and there's a gasket leak. I don't think there's a leak on here, just by the fact I can feel a good sort of amount of pressure. The leak, I think, is relatively small. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit carried away with myself, but there could be a leak here, there could be a leak on the gasket, there could be a leak. It's very unlikely, this intake manifold. I've seen these intake manifolds, not on this car but on other cars, damaged before. And I'm also assuming that this is an issue with a pressure loss, either from the intake elbows, which are soft plastic bits. I'm assuming it's pressure loss there, or somewhere in the top half of the engine. But it could. Where is this thing measuring this thing from? It's not going to be. It's going to be measuring it down to after the catalytic converters, isn't it? It's going to be measuring the mixture as it comes out of the car, not just from here. So the thing that's throwing the errors is probably going to be an oxygen sensor down in the exhaust. Is this problem just actually, there's nothing wrong with the engine, and it's just whatever is measuring the richness of how we're running, the sensor is gone. That is the thing that I don't know. Where is that sensor? I'm guessing though, guys, I would guess that this is actually a genuine problem. The sensor's probably right, and I would guess that there is a vacuum problem. And I'm thinking out loud here in this video. I'm thinking the best thing I could do to try and fix this is to replace the petrol filter, because that's a good service thing that you should do anyway. The fuel filter, basically, which I can do. It's going to be a bit of a pain in the arse, but I can do that. And after I've replaced the fuel filter, clear all the errors, see if they come back. I suspect they will come back. In fact, what I should probably do is just clear all the errors. I've made a note of all the errors. I should probably clear them all, Just so none of them might come back. That would be quite funny. I'm spending all this time thinking about it. They could be old errors, but I bet you they're not. I bet you they're not. There's a bit of a rough idle on this car. I can almost hear something which sounds like it might be a vacuum leak. You know, like it's hard. It could be anything, but really interesting actually, because this car's all the belts look like they've been done at some point. The belts look really nice and new. Can you see there's no wear on those belts, and they look nice and shiny. That's new rubber on those belts. That's a good sign, that is. The chap said he had the Inspection 2 service done in 2017, and it's not done many miles since then. So I think fundamentally we might have lots of niggles but no major problems on this car. That's what I'm hoping. It could be superb. I just took it for another drive again, and it's just, the engine feels good. It's pretty smooth and I can feel the power. There is just something pissing it off with these bloody errors. Something upsetting the car. I'm hoping it's something extremely simple. The worrying thing is the chap before me, look, he took it to specialists, I think, to try and sort this out, and I think they did the gasket cover. Those specialists, this should be a very easy job for them. It's very probably very typical problem, and it worries me that they didn't get it sorted. But I don't know the history of that, so it could just be, even though this is in theory a common bread and butter problem, there are so many places where this vacuum leak could occur. If it is a vacuum leak, it could almost even be, as well as I'm assuming it's all of the stuff going in, it could also be the output, because you've got the exhaust gases going out through the exhaust manifold, you know, down to the sensors somewhere down here, and there could be, you know, you could have a worn out exhaust manifold. I'm just trying to see if I can bloody see that. I'm not going to have any chance of seeing that, am I? Yeah, is that them there? I can't see, I need the light. So it could actually be something that might be a bit more fiddly. So I would lay money on it being something simple, but there is all sorts of places where this could lose pressure. There's breather valves as well for this top section of the engine, and I don't know where they all are. I hope it's not that, but that shouldn't be. I mean, it won't be a disaster, but it would just be more Google mechanicry to try and figure out where they are. So as always, guys, the great thing is doing this with people watching, because there are people that will know this engine inside out and will be able to fill in the blanks for me. They'll be able to fill in the blanks for me. There's other things it could be as well, but I think I've got a rough idea of where to start. So that is where I am with diagnosing the engine faults. I'm going to go ahead now and I'll document this. I'm going to go ahead, do those methodical steps, clear all the errors first, see which ones come back. But I'm 99% sure when I do that, all the same errors will come back. Then I'll take the next step, which is just to start with the most obvious, easy, most likely probable thing, which is a crack in these rubber intake elbows. If it's not that, then we've got to start digging deeper into the car, which requires ripping more things out.